Hello and welcome to a new year of Star Wars Unlimited podcasting with the Nordic Takedown podcast. I am here with Viktor.
Hello.
Hello, and I'm just gonna say first episode for this year.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! Made it a whole year almost. In March, I guess it's a whole year, but another number, 25 now on everything.
That's
Strange,
nice.
right?
Yeah. No, but great.
Yeah,
know?
I think it's
A
strange.
full year of SWUing ahead of us.
Yeah, it's I've waited for almost like a year for the game, and now I've almost played it a year.
So you're almost 2 years deep in this game now.
Yes, I think that's why it feels a little bit like, has it only been a year? Even though it's actually been going quite fast and been to so
For
many
sure.
more tournaments than like in Destiny or something like that. But
It's been really intensive, actually.
yeah, especially in periods like in laps.
Mhm.
So yeah, 2025. We did our last episode a few weeks ago, even though
Yeah,
we had one release in the middle.
yeah. I mean, we recorded both of those before Christmas, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not too far ago, if we're going to be honest. It's only the 2nd
No.
of January. But what have you been up to? Like, has it been any like Star Wars for you?
My main Star Wars interest has been, being really the pep squad for my testing partner Alexander, who did really well in the Swedish Online League. So I've been talking to him a lot about the deck. Casual play, but with it,
Yeah.
sort of low intensity testing, and a lot of just after that. The showcase tournament that you arranged, where both me and Alexander washed out completely. Spirit's been low in the Krennic camp, and I've tried to be the pep squad here, but
the cheerleader.
he did really well. He made the semifinals, and I was cheering for him all through, but he didn't manage to get to the final.
No, and in the end, the final was actually played today, I think, or it was yesterday.
Something like that.
Was Anakin Blue who took it home?
Yeah.
2-1 after beating Cad Red, Cad Tarkentown in the final. I have actually not talked to anyone of them how the matches went, so can't really comment on it. But I think Cad Tarkentown is slightly favored. But if you don't get the drop early or initiative things happens, everything can happen. So that's a very fun matchup actually. Cad Tarkentown and Anakin Blue, even though it is slightly favored to Cad, but like it's such a fun matchup if played correct from both sides. If Cad plays it a bit wrong, it's super easy for Anakin, but as soon as the Cad player plays it right, it's actually really, really difficult to get back into the game as Anakin.
No, yeah, Cad has such a great passive control function that you can focus on the offense while still getting so much defense just on the go.
Yeah,
it's a great mid-range deck. I think among mid-range matchups, I think Cad is favored into most other mid-range matchup. Maybe Krennic would be the only, if you count Krennic as a mid-range deck, that would be the only mid-range deck I think is actually favored into Cad.
Yeah, I would personally put it as a soft control maybe, but and that's why it's probably pretty good into Cad in general, because Cad is actually very good into the aggro stuff. Which is like
Sabine just folds to Cad.
Yes,
it's such a free matchup,
and that's like one of the reasons I've been playing it a bit because it's we have quite a few Sabine players in Sweden and in Denmark. For this PQ season, it's a deck to be respected.
I think so. Yeah,
and
I definitely think so.
Cad is really good into those matchups, and as we said, in the mid range. He's also pretty strong. I think Boss Green is really, really rough for him. But otherwise, because he can just ramp and play bounties.
in that sense, I'd say Boss Green is even more of a soft control deck
Yeah,
than what Krennic is, maybe,
yeah, maybe,
because
especially how I play it.
it
Yeah.
yeah, and it doesn't really have any tempo plays early.
No,
Like you don't ever see a fast game with Boss Green, I
true.
think.
Because you don't really
Whereas
play ECL anymore with that. You play the 30
no,
HP games
exactly.
because otherwise you get
Whereas
beat
Krennic is
up.
such a, it's definitely an ECL deck. You don't play Krennic without ECL.
Well, I think you could, right? Play the 30 HP.
Why would you?
I think you would rather play Kira if you
Yeah,
do that.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Uh,
For sure.
but yeah, you can build it a bit different. But I guess you should build a Kira deck if you do that.
Yeah, I think so.
Uh,
Well, enough about me and my I don't know,
no,
side
yeah,
playing.
your cheerleading. Uh,
Yeah, cheerleading. What have you been up to over the
um,
weekends?
I was also in the our online tournament league. I actually played my brother, the CAD Tarkentown. So we actually met up at Christmas and played our game. So that was
Oh,
cool
you
to,
played it in person.
yes. That's
Cool.
why it took so long before we got our game scheduled, because we had to like get through, make everyone be okay with us playing, basically. Uh,
Mhm.
but that was fun, except that I didn't get a 2-drop in game one. Uh,
Oh.
which was
Then you
not fun.
lose.
Yeah, I lost that one. Then I won game two and lost game three. Um, so that was sad, but it was really nice when you can get these games in person. Like
Mhm.
it's a luxury thing.
Yeah.
So we have actually played a few games over the Christmas side of it all, but not much otherwise than that. I think otherwise it's been planning a little bit for the upcoming sort of showcase tournament we're going to have here in January in about a week. Uh,
Mhm.
then prepping for our new online tournament, longer online tournament in Sweden, because this one finished up. Um, so been putting out some info on that. And then also, like, of course, trying to decide what to play on the PQs coming up. We have Copenhagen here in 8 days. No, 9 or
Yeah.
something, 9 or 10.
Yeah. It's just around the corner now.
Just around the corner, yeah. And I have no idea what to play really. Like, okay, that's a little bit of a lie, but like, I am
You
not
have a couple of
confident. Yeah,
options.
yeah. I think I'm more set on what I'm going to play in Stockholm than I am in Copenhagen.
That makes sense though, because I mean, you pretty much know what to expect in Stockholm,
Yeah.
but in Copenhagen, it's less. It's more open, I think.
Yes. I don't know what to expect really, and like there is so different what you have to consider if you think it's going to be a lot of Sabine or not a lot
Mhm.
of Sabines. Like,
Mhm. Mhm.
not that Sabine is extremely OP, because she has some bad
No,
matchups, as we
for
just
sure.
said, CAD Tarkentown, and like
Mhm.
Django Tarkentown is also a bit rough.
Yeah, it can be.
So it's not like she just goes in and has a free, but she has a lot of freebies in other matchups if you choose to not play CAD Tarkentown or Django. Um, so that's,
That's certainly true, and also, like you more than any other aggro deck, Sabine demands that you have answers.
yeah,
If you're facing a Kylo deck or a Sarge Ventress deck, you can kind of use standard anti-aggro measurements.
yeah,
But for Sabine, there are a couple of things you need to be able to answer and play around.
yeah. So that's been interesting. Like, of course, Sabine becomes one of the list you consider when
Mhm.
especially I played the deck a lot, and I
Mm,
find it
yeah.
fun. Some people don't find the Sabine fun to play, but I have no problem with the fun factor when it comes to Sabine. It's
No,
just
I don't see why people don't like it.
no,
I mean, I think when you get into playing Sabine, you realize the depth of it. It's just
yeah,
a different kind of decision
yeah,
tree, the decision tree is just as deep as any other deck.
yeah. I think it hones in even more on the skill on what to resource compared to
Hmm.
most other decks. I think the
Hmm.
only one that is like mid-rangey that has the same almost is Anakin, because you
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
have to plan around your turn 4 5 resource turn, because that is such a
Right.
shitty turn. So you need to
Mm.
see that one has to, you have to solve that one as well, when
Mhm.
you consider your early game a little bit. But
Mhm.
Sabine really, it's very different what you kind of the cards you resource depending on what starting hand you have.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
if you go first
And
or
what you
second, as well.
and what you exactly, and who you're facing.
Yeah.
Like not just what deck you're facing, who you're facing.
So yeah. So I think that is, when you when someone just picks it up and just plays, that's where people do the most wrongs compared, not necessarily when they are playing out the actions on the board, because sometimes that is very straightforward. Hey,
Mm.
I see face, I go face. Sometimes that is that
Yeah.
is,
It
but to be able to
it's
go,
true to some extent.
yeah, to be able to go, hey, I see face, I hit face as hard as I can. You don't,
Mm.
you can't afford to resource wrong cards, because then
No.
you would miss
Yeah.
out on damage. Um,
Yeah.
so I think she's
And also,
really
like
fun.
in Sabine, you have to trade. Like you
Sometimes,
have to
yeah,
know when to trade.
yes,
If you don't know when and how to trade, you're screwed.
yeah, you cannot just go face. Well, some games, but like, versus good players, you just can't always go face.
No.
So I think she's a really fun deck. That's not like my issue, with why I'm not playing her. It's only because of the four Acosta Believings. That's the only that. But there's actually so many fun decks in Star Wars Unlimited right now, and
Yeah.
I think a lot of them. We can start talking a little bit about the meta expectations,
Yeah, exactly.
now
What do
when
you
we're
think you're going to
already in it.
meet the scene in Copenhagen? Like because Stockholm, we can home in a little bit about
It's gonna
on
be
Stockholm
Sabines and
later.
Krennics.
Yeah, exactly. But what do you think we're going to see in Copenhagen?
I think it's going to be a very big mix. It
Hmm.
depends. I have no idea of how many have signed up this time. I know that I'm not sure there is a car coming from Stockholm, for example, this time. I don't think
No,
so.
no, it's not. There was no car last time either. We
I
we
was a
took
train,
a plane. We
a
took a
plane.
plane.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the same.
We've been
Private
going a
leasing
little
a
bit
plane.
back and forth, and some of us were on the fence for a long time, but I don't think anyone's going actually.
Yeah, I think you wanted to go to the Netherlands,
Hmm.
right? Because
Yeah,
you have
yeah,
relatives close by, which is
yeah.
makes it. And it will take almost the same time if you're going to fly.
Yeah. It's
So
pretty much the same,
so that is
and it's
no.
cheaper. It's actually a lot cheaper than Copenhagen.
Ah, so
Like if you want to get a hotel room in Delft or Leiden or anywhere
yeah,
around the areas where they have those, those are so much cheaper in the Netherlands than they are in Copenhagen. Copenhagen is such an expensive city.
yeah, and the Danish crown is really strong, uh,
Yeah,
as well.
yeah. I
So
mean the euro is pretty strong as well, but
fair enough, but
uh,
we expect it to be. We are
yeah,
not. We're
exactly.
used to it.
Yeah,
We're not.
we're used to the Norwegian crown
Yes,
and the euro to be strong, but the Danish crown, come on.
that is just rubbish. We have finally got the Norwegian crown below us, and now we have to
Yeah,
pay expensive for Denmark. Uh,
that's ridiculous.
we will never become the great power of the Nordics again.
Yeah,
Clearly.
no.
Uh, but yeah, I think it's going to be quite diverse. Like the Danes have always have played quite different stuff. There was a lot of boba, of course,
Mm,
last time around.
for
Um,
sure.
it's hard to know where those people went. There was like they were innovating the Cat Blue. Uh,
Mhm. Yeah,
I don't know if they're still on it, but I don't see that at all at the moment. Uh,
no. I don't think they are. Maybe Jonas still plays it, but
uh,
I would be surprised if Steven does.
so I think it's very open. Maybe they are on
Yeah,
Cad Tarkentown instead, which is a very strong deck.
yeah, that
Um,
would make sense.
because Cad is also like a pretty fun leader. So
Mhm.
I think it's going to be quite diverse. I think the deck that I think might be the that I have the hardest time thinking about how many it will come is like the Django Tarkentown. They could. I could absolutely see a world where there's 0. And
in Stockholm for
also,
sure.
and yeah, exactly. And in Denmark, it could be 0 or it could be 5. Like, it's a quite big difference. Because it's probably going to be around 40 people, right? That's what I think it's going to be.
You expect it to be a lot smaller than last time?
Yeah, a little bit smaller, yeah. But not too much smaller, because they could always be more squawning up, showing up.
Yeah.
And like, so, and then that's what's gonna be so interesting, because I think it's gonna be a few of every deck. So the hard part is like, okay, the best players, what decks are they gonna be on? Because,
right,
like, I mean, no offense to mediocre or worse players, but like, you can beat them with, as long as you have your good deck and play right. But like, you
if
don't
you're
want to
prepared,
be,
you can always.
yeah, but you don't want to be on the wrong side of the matchup when you're facing down the good players.
No,
You want to have that extra edge.
certainly.
And
No, yeah.
that's so hard. I think it will be a little bit of everything.
But like, Europe's a lot less aggro
In general, yeah.
in general than the US has been. If you look at what we've seen at tournaments so far.
Yes.
But is that true for Denmark? Because, like, if you look at Denmark and Poland and some of those places, there's so much aggro instead. Well, sorry, I don't know about Denmark, but if you look at Poland, like, you have so much aggro and a diversity in the aggro, as well.
And I think, like,
is that true for Denmark?
If you would look at the a little bit like the Malmö game week, we had like the Danes that made the top cut was, I think there was one Boba Yellow, there was the double red Sabine, another Sabine ECL, and then it was like Akira.
The two and the two Cat Blues.
Oh yeah, and a Cat Blue, yeah. So there was like
both
3,
of them.
yeah. Oh yeah, both made it, yeah, because we had a bigger top cut. Yeah, it was about half. But like, and then we went to the PQ. Then the top cuts from the Danes was like the Space Aggro Yellow Boba and the Boba Red, also aggro.
And Sabine Red again. No,
no,
Morten wasn't Boba Red.
Yeah, he
Morten
wasn't
wasn't
Boba
Boba
Red. He converted. So there is definitely some aggro, but from good players. But the general mass, I think, is a little bit mid-range control. I think just like your average Swede. But you know, these Boba players, like, where did they go? Did they go to mid-range or to aggro? That is like, or did they just go become Boss Blue lovers because they watched Stork? No idea.
Could be. Hard to say. Yeah, exactly. Bosk Blue. There were a few at last PQ.
Yes, there was. Yeah, and also in the Monotorsk
In
Katina
Skövde, there
Brawl.
were a few. So I mean, Bosk Blue is definitely a deck to look out for. You need to be able to beat the Bosk Blue deck, whatever you're bringing, kind of.
And
or you're just hoping that someone else will take care of them.
And like Bosk Blue, I fear like a mega experience like Thork style Bosk Blue player. But other than that, I have actually like had amazing results against Bosk Blue these last times I've been playing against it. Because it is a very difficult deck to pilot, and as long as I have a lot of knowledge on my deck, I can just wait for that little slip up, and then I don't let them back in, basically.
No. Oh, you have to have a plan for it, though.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, you cannot wing it.
No, exactly. I mean, you need to know what and how to play against it, and you can't slip up either. Like,
no, for sure. I have to play very, very like, it's a very unforgivable matchup.
No, I mean, and also it depends so much on what strategy you're going to pick. Is going to be so dependent on what kind of deck you're playing. But I do think almost any strategy has a way into it. Like, both mid-range and aggro can try to go under it.
Yeah.
And if you're playing control, there are definitely ways to win the control mirror against it.
Yeah, it's I thought like until you figure it out, it feels very devastating. But like
Hmm.
if you are a green control player, for example, you have relentless.
Hmm.
It's a big,
Yeah,
yeah, a big one.
yeah,
If you're a
yeah,
yellow control player, you have bounty hunter crew, so you like,
yeah.
yeah. But even if you're another blue red on the hero
Hmm.
side, you have an
Hmm.
advantage that you play with smuggle cards. Boss blue does
Yep,
not. So
yep.
you can like grind out his hand, and eventually he will
Hmm.
not always have the right answer. That's just
No, exactly. Heroic blue red has the hand control options,
yeah,
as does the yellow.
yes,
Like if you're playing heroic yellow,
yeah,
you
with
got
Spark and
and Kira, and there's so many options to shut them out with. So whatever you're picking, you can find a way to win against it, but you need to know that way.
yes.
Yeah.
So I do think a little bit of pulp will probably. I think pulp players
Hmm.
uh, like to arrive at these events. There was a pulp green from Denmark in the Malmö Top Cut,
Yep.
and I think he played pulp in the PQ as well. Was last time, so uh, I think that is something you can expect to see, but it's not necessarily that you're going to meet it. That is the and of course maybe Anakin, but I'm not sure how big that is in Denmark compared to in Sweden. Uh,
No, yeah.
in
And also, like, it's interesting. I've tried to follow up and see what happened with what kind of splash your deck did through the video we made and
yeah,
through like being showcased in quite a good way in the Malmö, in the Skövde Cantina Brawl. But it seems to me that most Anakin Blue is still on that kind of combo-y,
yeah,
huge turns with lightsabers and all that. That seems to be the more popular style still.
yes, and which is awesome when I play against it because I always
Mhm.
beat.
Yeah.
Uh, but so I think when I see it, I expect I'm facing it, and it was
Mhm.
was pretty nice is that you can see it quite early in the game
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
the two drops are very different. That's where it mainly
Mhm.
differs. So if you see someone playing Quill or A-Wing,
Mhm.
for example, Green Squadron A-Wing, that's his name, right? Uh,
Yeah.
then you know it's the combo deck.
Yeah.
So
For
then you
sure.
can change your game style. If you see an R2 or C3PO, uh, then you can start thinking this is going to be a grindy matchup.
Yep.
Uh,
do not resource your late game cards.
exactly. Do not keep your confiscates on hand because there ain't no any lightsabers coming. Uh,
No, no.
most likely, at least. Someone
Yeah,
could splash in a one or so, but
of course, of course.
uh, so that I agree. Most people seems to be on it, even though it's been popular. Like even Jonah is doing very well with it in the TTI
Mm.
league and is
Yeah,
has reached the final, actually
yeah,
beating two Sabines on the way. Um,
yeah.
even though our version is, I would say, a bit weaker against just Sabine. Uh, so I can see why the combo deck is doing still okay in the States because there is a lot of aggro. Uh,
Mhm.
but the combo deck is awful, in my opinion, to face Django.
Yeah, it's
Just
it's
tap.
really bad into
Yeah.
Django, which is also super popular in the US.
Yes.
So I,
So I assume
yeah, I
that's why
don't
it
know.
doesn't. It never really
It
wins.
doesn't win
No.
anything. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so, but I do have multiple people like who have wrote after and asked about the deck and like wanting to play it. But it
Mm.
is a pretty difficult deck, and it's not a self-playing piano, as we say in Sweden.
For sure not.
Uh,
I mean, the other Anakin deck, the combo one, you can kind of explain with a couple of sentences, like
yeah,
this is what you're trying to do, and you can't do that with the version you're playing. You
no,
can tell them that it's a control deck
yeah,
mainly, and then what?
yeah,
How?
and then
you
you
know?
just have to play it and realize a little bit, like because control decks function a bit different depending on who you play, of course.
Exactly.
And like,
Yeah.
and we have done some upgrades, everyone on our deck since the Cantina Brawl, different, like separately, and I think we've landed in a better version for sure. But if it's
Just, are you cooperating still?
yeah, we're still talking, but it's not the same. Like everyone is not on going to same tournament like last time. Well, Jonah was not last time, but everyone was aiming for the Cantina Brawl, even though Tobias didn't
Yeah, he couldn't come
couldn't
in the
go
end,
in the
but
end. But
he
like,
was definitely trying to come.
yeah. So then it was also kind of important to have some open. Uh, I don't want to build a deck with someone and then try to change a card to beat that person the day before, or
Yeah,
feeling
no,
like because I think this is the best deck we have it. So if I change one card to make mine slightly better, I will have a better chance in the final. Don't want to have that feeling. So uh,
no.
at that time it was more, but now I've been contacting a bit, speaking, but not not as intense cooperation as last. Obviously, it's a little
Mm,
bit harder during Christmas and New Year's. Um,
mhm.
People don't do that much testing, I would say, and you don't really know how good it is. I will do my main testing last week and next week. I mean, not last.
Mhm.
So we'll see. And I have multiple decks to shrug off, I think, and that's quite unlike me. I don't want to be so. Um, I want to have it locked in already
Yeah,
to make the
and
final
start.
changes. Uh,
Yeah, and start getting reps. Like, start figuring out the trickier matchups and all of that.
yeah, because like we have so many. I have so many tournaments weeks coming up. Like we have the PQing next week and like well
Mhm.
next weekend, and then it's like I think 19th of January we have Store Showdown in Göteborg, so that's the
Mhm.
tournament, and then we have a Store Showdown in Växjö by a local place,
Mhm.
the first or if it's the second of February. And
Mhm.
then it's the week after that, it's Stockholm, right? In the 8th.
18th, Dragon's Lair. That's the one that's been spoiled. Well, sorry, announced. We're waiting for Alpha Spill to announce this.
Yeah, but 8th of February is the PQ, right? In Stockholm, Alpha Spel.
The Stockholm is the 8th,
Yeah,
yeah, of
8th. Yeah.
February, whereas the 18th of January is the showdown
Ah, okay,
at
yeah.
Dragon's Lair.
And then after that, it's the Norwegian PQ. So I'm
Mhm.
going to like 3, 4, 5 tournaments in 6 weeks span or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Obviously you can and I have multiple decks I want to bring, so I'm going to
Mhm.
experiment a little bit, probably in the store showdowns,
Mm.
to go for those. Like I I I really want to play boss green in one of these events.
Yeah, you've been sort of aiming for that for a while now.
Yeah,
Have you been testing with the deck a lot, or?
a little bit. Like since it's been the last few weeks, I've been a little bit off, but the deck is so good into some matchups. And
Yeah, I've noticed.
it's
No, actually, I'm 1-1 against Jonathan, who was playing it.
yeah,
So
and
yeah.
like I built it more. Mine is a bit more controlling. So you like with your standard of soft controlling, it's definitely a soft control deck.
Mhm.
Um, but Bosk is Bosk can run away with games.
Yeah, he definitely has that. I think for me personally, if you're going to build a good Basque deck, you're going to have a higher variance of draws
Yeah,
than in most other decks you build, and that's I don't like that. I my math is
yeah,
I I I can't stop myself from doing the math. And when you see like you go from a 2% to a 0.5%,
yeah.
it's like, yeah, I want to be the 0.5
Yeah.
failure, not the 2% failure. And it seems it's often just a one more card of something or one less
Yeah.
card or something. But you get those shifts, and I just can't.
Fall in
And
love with
Bosk
it. Yeah.
is always in the 2% rather than the 0.5%.
Yeah. My
It's,
my biggest issue with the deck is that I've been playing a lot of decks lately that has quite a few cards of smuggle. I like the to have smuggle in my
it's
decks,
nice. It's
um,
nice.
because the cards are a lot of the decks have some ways to mess with your hand, even if they don't
Mhm.
draw everything like a pillage. Um,
Yeah.
and like just having the options to go smuggle, like I played a lot of hero, obviously I played a lot of
Mm.
Anakin, so Cassian, for example, like
Mhm.
not having a Cassian in your deck, really it's really noticeable. And the red green does not have, they have timely intervention, but timely intervention
Mhm.
still requires you to have something good on hand, so it
Mm.
doesn't really help you with your card disadvantage. And just Bosk green does not like work with commission that well. They don't run that many
No.
bounty hunters.
Nope. Yeah, no.
Unfortunately, bounties are not items, which
Nope,
if they
they are
were,
not.
that then it would be great. Uh,
But it would be weird, wouldn't
yes,
it?
it would be. Uh, so just to explain for everyone else, like why there are not that many good smuggle cards for that deck, and that's one of the
For boss
weaknesses.
screen, no. No, yeah.
Um, for blue, no, sorry, not blue. Green red villainy has
Mhm.
its timely
Mm.
intervention is it's not just villainy,
Probably the best. Yeah,
probably the
it's
best,
probably the best.
but it doesn't help the problem with when your hand is running out.
No, for
So
sure not. I think like running smuggle cards, even if you're just running timely intervention or something like that,
yeah,
it's really hard. Like um you you want to represent outs
yes,
to your opponent. You want to have your opponent think about as many of your possible cards as possible. Like and having smuggle cards versus not having any,
yeah,
even if you're pretending to check your resources,
yes,
if you never ever play anything from your resources, your opponent's going to figure out that you're not playing smuggle cards.
yeah,
But if you have at least one and played at least one and you keep checking your resources, they have more things to consider.
yes,
It's like, again, I've been playing Krennic a lot lately, and there aren't that many smuggle cards that Krennic could be playing, but there are some.
yes,
And if I'm not on any of those, they know that I'm not on any of them. But
yeah,
if I'm on one of them, they don't know if I'm on more of them.
no, exactly, yeah,
So they have to consider more cards. And if you're looking at if you're playing a yellow deck, then there's so many smuggle cards.
yes,
So again, if you don't playing any of them, of course, again you can fake it at least for the first game. You can check your resources,
yeah,
but they'll figure it out. You
yeah,
know.
yeah. And like some people might think when you play yellow, for example, yellow Han, you have so
Mhm.
many that it's not even worth thinking about. You just think
Yeah.
about DJ and tech.
Yeah, with Yellow Han, it's all
Yeah,
you have to consider all the
yes,
smuggle cards. But if you're looking at specifically these decks that have
yeah,
a few smuggle options, like a Krennic or Sabine, or these decks don't have a lot of smuggle, but
no,
they have a couple that could be in the deck.
yeah,
Uh,
which is
and
very
and if
impactful.
you're and exactly like if you, usually they are really impactful, like in Krennic we run Lom
Lompike,
Pike,
yeah,
which is a hugely impactful card if you play it, like a 6 booty with 4 and the shields. It's a huge card when you play it. So even if I'm not playing it, but I am playing timely,
yeah,
and they've seen me play the timely. They know I have smuggle cards. They know that when I'm checking my resource row, I'm actually checking for smuggle cards. They don't know if I'm playing Lompike at that point.
no.
So yeah.
So yeah, Now we talked a little bit of few decks, but other things in the meta to expect is probably like there is apparently a PQ going on
Mhm.
to be played like the 5th. Yeah, now on Sunday in
Yeah,
Italy,
yeah,
right?
yeah, and there's one in US as
Oh,
well,
okay, yeah.
real early, like this weekend coming up now.
So that would be our first taste, a little bit of what's like. I guess the
Mhm.
US is not that great for us to look at. It's
But still, it is, even though the decks in the US aren't always,
we
we
can
don't get the same shares,
no,
but we get the same decks.
yes,
Like a deck that does well in the US is going to show up,
at least the
maybe
aggro's
not
right.
be exactly,
But
yeah,
if you
and it
see,
might not be
yeah, if you
the
see,
same kind of
yeah, exactly.
balance between them,
That was
but
what I was
you're
gonna
still
say.
going
Yeah.
to see it.
If you see like a 30% spread share of Sabines in the US, you
Mhm.
know it's not going to be 30% in Europe. It just
No,
won't. Yeah.
but you can
But you
look
can
at
look at
those
the best
Sabine
decks.
decks.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You can look at those Sabine decks and see the trends in Sabines then. Oh, everyone's on Yularen now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good to know. Like, yeah,
Mhm,
this
mhm.
time it's Adelphi Wing or what's the name. Now
Exactly.
people are back on Darksaber. Uh,
Exactly. Exactly.
but you
That's
cannot
that's the
say,
sort of things you look at.
but if you see like, oh, there is no control decks,
No.
you
Yeah.
cannot take that and say, oh, it's
No,
not going to be any control decks in a European competition. Uh,
for sure.
that is just not happening.
But then if you see like an Assange Vintress
Mhm.
do a go to semifinals or finals, you know that some of the
Yes,
aggro players are going to try that out in
yes,
Europe.
that is
So
true.
know.
Because people always like this different deck,
Mhm,
especially if it's like a short period of time. You can just
mhm.
grind it, and people have not been prepared for it yet.
Exactly.
So
Yep.
I think those two will be like some good taste of see where the decks are in like the design, maybe of
Mhm,
the decks.
mhm. Yeah.
The spreadsheet that may differ. Like we don't like if you go to 128 people tournament, you will know what you're gonna face. Here you don't really know. You will have to make some guesses and see what you
Yeah.
perform the best on the day. I've
Mhm,
also been feeling like my game have been pretty bad the last few weeks. I've been playing pretty bad, like
mm,
made a lot of like mistakes, which means I have to figure out if I'm losing because of the deck is bad or because I'm playing bad. Like,
oh, yeah, yeah,
because if I keep playing bad, it doesn't really matter what deck I'm going to bring. Uh,
for sure.
it's still going to yield the same result.
I think that's a really good segue into our last little segment here. So,
Yeah,
I was watching the other day, the KTOD channel released a Bobby Sapphire video where he went through a couple of SWU years resolutions that he had for the new year,
yeah,
things he wanted to do differently or wanted to keep in mind when he was playing through the year. And he was like committing himself, and he encouraged everyone else to commit to some resolutions. The whole thing was very serious in the way I probably are not able to replicate. But he ended it by asking, "What's your SWU year's resolutions?" And I think like th- there are a couple of interesting things that I've been thinking about doing differently this year, and like in order to get to step up my game.
yeah. Let's
Do
hear.
you have any yourself?
Yeah, I had like since we talked about this before,
Mm,
I've been thinking about like just note keeping during
mm,
games and like just coming with an empty sheet to every game. Like
mm.
especially if you play like decks that has maybe regional governor, like something to look in the opponent's hand. Like write it down. Don't be stupid. You
Yeah.
are going to forget some stuff at
Mhm.
some point. Like sure, if you see you're gonna win this game anyway, you don't have to rub it in your opponent's face and start writing things down to take time of the timer. But like that's
Yeah.
something I want to be better at. Like maybe to put it like this, I want to be less nonchalant when I play. Like just I'm gonna less this I'm gonna win anyway. like just make the groundworks a little bit better. And that is one of the things, keeping notes. I think another one is like I've really liked when we've been working on decks together. Like, doesn't have to be the same person every time, but like I want to continue doing that more than necessarily just building things yourself. And like, and I think I've already started. Like, for example, with the boss green, I started talking more with Jonathan because he likes that. Like, I'm not starting to talk a lot about that with Jonah if he's not interested in the boss green, or you, Victor. Like, if I was gonna want to play Krennic, then I would. I know which group I reach out to and ask to be invited.
No, exactly. No, that's how I did it. I just grabbed hold of the best Krennic player I knew.
Yeah, it's natural.
Yeah.
Just jump on the best players. I think another resolution is going to be like for the channel. Maybe is like more. I'm gonna try to make not just but I hope that the channel is gonna make more YouTube content this year, and like that we can bring a little bit more. A deeper coverage of the Nordic tournaments, which we are starting to, by the way, now with we have the streams locked down for both Oslo and Stockholm PQ, hoping.
And we're really working on the Copenhagen as well. Like we really want to, and we've been in contact with them. It's looking really promising, isn't it?
Yes, it's looking promising. It's just these final details about equipment and like how to make it function. We have people who wants to stream it at least. So So and like it's a problem for the podcast that I'm in charge of the contacting thing. I'm mostly a player, not this technical guy. So a little bit better on those. But yeah, otherwise, I think those are keep building with others and like
bring the notepad.
Bring the notepad. Don't be too overconfident. Like I guess if you're playing Sabine, you're not going to look to anyone's hand, so you don't have to bring a notepad. But in my case, I think I might want to start bring it just to have this, routine. That and like always bring a water bottle, like all those things. I'm also starting to always bring snacks if there is allowed in the store, of course, to like keep fresh, at least in bigger tournaments. And I don't want to drink 7 Cokes in a day, so water is good to have. So I think those would be mine for the gaming part. How about you, Victor?
For sure. One of my SWU resolutions is going to be to start getting some more videos out. I just made the one this far, but I'll try to. I might not get to the level where you've been lately, where you release a ton of videos, but at least do one every now and then, and maybe cooperate with it or just great. But just I think more video content is definitely something where I could provide more. But when it comes to the actual playing, I think one of the SWU resolutions I'm going to take is for every set that's released, I want to have at least taken one new leader, not necessarily new for that set, but challenge myself to find a leader and try to build something for each set that could be competitive. Doesn't have to mean that I jump ship and that's what I bring to the PQs for that set, but at least give one new leader for every set a chance to become the thing I bring to the PQ. So that's one thing. And also I wish I could do the thing with the notepad that you're talking about. It's definitely the right thing to do, and I encourage everyone to do it. Even go as far as what Bobby Sapphire was talking about. Maybe you should actually keep track of life totals on that notepad, just in case something goes wrong. If people fiddle it up, some people use dice and things, and they might be turned over. Just to have a record of how the totals shift on both bases could be a really life-saving thing
And
for
one
you.
thing of that I've been, when you
Mm,
mentioned that, right now I was
mm,
thinking like, because one thing is when you are if you're counting both life totals, right? You can look at
yeah,
that and see if you have close to lethal on your opponent. If you
yeah,
start to fiddling their dice and like, oh, you're 23 or 24,
yeah. No,
that's
yeah,
when if someone asks me that, I'm like, oh, he can do 6, not 7 damage.
yeah,
That's what he can
exactly.
do.
Yeah, it's a giveaway. Yeah, the thing is, I'm just never gonna be able to use a notepad like that. It's just not gonna happen. I know myself,
It's so
and
hard.
that yeah, it's just it's so far away from where I'm at, so it's just not gonna happen. I wish it could happen, but it's not. But I think in testing, I want to keep records much more in
Yeah.
my testing, because I don't really. I just, and it gets so anecdotal now, but I want to start actually writing down things from my testing. And two things would be my focus there. One, obviously, like statistics of matchups and cards played.
And that's actually
And you
just
can
fun
yeah, that's
to have.
fun, and
Yeah.
it's easy, just do it. But something that's really something I really want to start doing is um, resource analysis.
That
Like
is
after
intense.
each game, just go back. Just go back, look through my resources, resourcing decisions, just
Yeah.
write them down for every game afterwards before I scoop it up. Again, in testing, not
Yeah.
in
During the tournament,
tournaments
because
or anything.
this should
No,
be
no,
nailed
no.
down before anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. But in testing, just actually keep a record of my resourcing decisions and start considering them afterwards, reflecting on them for a bit.
That could be
Like,
pretty
was
cool.
that
Like
really?
not going
Yeah,
only on feeling, like I feel like I
yeah,
resource Poe every time. And then you can
hmm
look, hey, I actually resource Poe 8 of 10 times.
exactly,
Should he be in the deck?
exactly.
He doesn't have smuggle.
Yeah,
Uh, like those things.
but
Yeah.
and also the things like shit. I resourced the Poe, but and then I was digging for
Yeah.
it. Like when you start writing that down and you go, oh yeah. I've been digging for posts, but I'm always resourcing him.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm digging for him afterwards because I've resourced him away. I shouldn't be resourcing him,
Yeah.
and that kind of things. Like just to get make
Yeah.
up my resourcing game.
That is like
That's where I
something.
want to be.
I think that's good to, if you like, that's a hardcore decision resolution. Like because
Hmm
I know that I'm feeling when I'm playing Sabine that I'm resourcing
hmm
more Poe than Wrecker because I think Wrecker is more impactful, and then I feel
hmm
like starting to think, do I really need 3 posts? Like that's a
hmm
difference.
hmm
But if I do what you do, I can actually look and see, yes, I am
Yeah.
resourcing more Poe, and maybe I'm happy
hmm
with the result. But then uh,
Yeah.
it's good to actually
No,
know and
yeah.
not just go by feeling. Like I feel like Obi-Wan sucks. Like
Yeah.
yes, he
No,
does.
but that.
I played a lot against Yellow villain. Obviously, he
Mm,
sucks. But like,
mhm,
yeah,
mhm.
that's good.
Yeah. No, that's definitely one thing that I want to do more of this year, keeping track of actual written track or,
Yeah,
write notes for my testing in a way that I haven't been doing. And that I can do. I probably can't do note taking during tournaments,
yeah.
but I can definitely do note taking during my testing. I'm capable of that.
But that is also something that really improves your gaming. I feel like in a way that
I
maybe
hope to.
track recording in tournaments like that
Yeah.
kind of improves the individual game, that you know that the opponent
Mm.
still has a vigilance, but it doesn't
Mhm.
make you necessarily better as a player. But
No.
tracking the resource thing, it does. Like that is that helps you definitely improve your skill on that deck.
I hope to, and I mean to try it out.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I think that's a harsh New Year's resolution
yeah,
that I'm going to hopefully be able to
I
fulfill.
will follow up on that. Let's
Yeah.
after this, like around Malmö game week or something. Like, how much tracking have you done? You get
Hmm.
6 months. Uh,
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, please do.
yeah,
Please do. Keep me to this. Yeah.
that's cool. I think that is a little bit what we have. We haven't played that much. Another resolution, maybe we can say from the podcast, is that we want to
Mm.
have an episode about draft, an episode about
Hmm.
Twin Sons for
Yep.
you coming up this year. We are kind of looking into which people are best at talking at it, and if we want to invite some people for it,
Hmm.
because I have still not played a single. Twin Sons, and I don't have a community to draft with, so I'm not like might not be as fun to hear my theoretical thoughts about it, and me seeming like super like intense saying this thing is the best, and was like, yeah, he drafted once and won. That doesn't matter, and
Hmm.
like that could have been luck. Um, so
Yeah.
that is like something from the pod. We want to do more, even with other formats as well. Um,
And actually, like, please do reach out to us with suggestions for topics,
yeah.
because we love to hear from our listeners. What are you interested in hearing us talk about? We will definitely consider all
Yes.
serious considerations.
Sometimes it just doesn't fit, or it
Mm, might
so
take a while.
yeah. I mean, sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes it just doesn't fit. Maybe sometimes we don't want to be too negative. Like we like to
Mm,
be a positive force. But
mhm,
like just because one of your ideas doesn't necessarily get picked up, it doesn't mean that we will reject the next one. Yeah,
exactly.
and
We
sometimes we
don't
just don't feel
hold.
qualified
No,
to
yeah,
talk about
exactly.
something. Uh,
But we do not hold personal grudges. So
no.
please come at us.
All right. So that's the first episode of the year. I think that was a really nice one.
Yeah.
We'll see when Jason and Jonah arrives. Hopefully we can get something from Jonah next week, since he's also going to the Copenhagen
Hmm.
TQ. See what he
And hear about his prepping.
yes, see how great it's going compared to mine. Uh, but yeah,
Yeah.
thanks
With all
everyone for
his
listening.
friends,
Yeah, with all his friends. Yeah, it's gonna be a big podcast next time. Jonah and all his
for
friends.
sure.
Uh,
Yes. Thank you, everyone,
thank you for
for
listening.
yeah.
And if you're here
Take
to
care.
the end, thank you very much. And may the force be with you.
Bye bye.
Bye.